Welcome, everybody. This is the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley, and every week we bring you the stories of people who make the lives of others better in one way or another. And this week, it's about the people who make our club better. It's the people who have volunteered their time to lead what we do. And as a Rotary club, Rotary International, 1 point something million people around the world and 36,000 clubs who believe in service above self, that joy and meaning that comes from making good things happen for others and sharing the stories of inspiration that can inspire people to see what they're capable of doing to improve the lives of others. And those leaders in our club are the current leader, a guy who's got about 12 more days worth of his presidential year, and the guy who's about 12 days away from becoming president of the club. We're talking about Nick and Mike, and we're excited to get to hear them do the handover, the changeover, that over thing that we do every year, and tell us about where we've been and where we're going. So with that, what I'd like to do is hand it over to current president Nick. Nick, you and Mike are so welcome here.
Thank
Take
you.
it away. Good to have you.
Thanks, Rushton, and really, truly, thank you, Rushton, for always being one of our voices for all the hosting. It makes a really big difference to share the stories that we get throughout all the time. And Mike, if you'll go to the next slide, that actually really ties well into thank you. And this is a thank you to our club. This is a thank you to our district. We have had a great year, and I'll talk about it a little bit in just a moment. But just everybody on this call, everybody who's joined our meetings this year, everybody who's learned about us and learned about Rotary, thank you. And on the next slide, for me, it really is about this tale of two stories. And go ahead, Mike, on the next slide. And it's the idea for me of challenges, and then successes will be next. I'm not going to hide the lead there. And we had a couple of challenges this year that I, as a president, didn't think about, didn't know what was going to come. I stepped in as president to make sure that we had good consistency. Our presidents are best, ideally, pulled from those who know how the club runs already. And I was acting as secretary when I volunteered and raised my hand to become president-elect and then president. This past year, and I think as an eClub, particularly in the world that is, well, technically a pandemic that's not done, is post-pandemic. In the world of a lot of Zoom over the past 4 years, engagement is a tough thing. We're all back into the what I would qualify as the normal world, and that meant that the engagement from a world of all that engagement on Zoom, there's a lot less energy, and they're like, oh, another Zoom. Before that was like exciting. Now that isn't always the same thing. So I recognize that. We also lost some members. Those members moved on and started new clubs, which is super exciting and something we love to see spun off. We always want to be continuing growing Rotary. We also had members who chose to leave Rotary, and that's okay too. The third area where I want to see and wish I could have done more is in our committees and making sure that we are moving forward intentionally with everything that we do. We have a lot of opportunity to improve on that, and we have some great committees that are making big headway, and we look forward to seeing how myself on the retaining on the board and the board and all of our club members continue. Now, on to successes. You have on the next slide the idea of where I've loved watching us grow. It is engagement at the same time. This is a plus and a minus. And we have had great engagement. Again, the wonderful people on the call today. One of the areas where I've been particularly wowed is I did not know much at all at the beginning of my presidency about podcasts. I listened to them for many, many, many years, but seeing that we had a wealth of archives that we could pull upon to put out there to further share our story is huge. Elton has just been amazing in getting those going. And that part, I love another area of engagement. And that is something that I'm proud of, that we have been able to support. And frankly, that we have wonderful people who are engaged and making these things happen. Another area of making things happen, and we've got Terry and Lisa and Sandy on the call today, and they helped organize in the San Jose, Bay Area, social gatherings. That's something we haven't done since the pre-pandemic. My first year in Rotary and in this club, I was able to get down to San Francisco and meet some of our members, including Maxie on the call. And the opportunity to do that again this year, coming down for district conference to do the Relay for Life and just get together and see people in person is something that is wonderful. And then at the same time, we also have new members. Even though we lost some members, we've gained other members. It's just the nature of our world. And from that perspective, I've really enjoyed welcoming those new members to the club. And we welcomed one, I think that was today or yesterday. It's really exciting to see the growth, and it is worldwide, which kind of leads me to kind of my call to action. Mike, if you go to the next slide, which is, for me, it's what did I learn? A lot, but I already knew we were worldwide. But when somebody raises their hand and says, I have an idea, can I engage some people I know in Germany and potentially bring them into our club? We're working on that. The idea of gaining new members. We have members in India who are German. We have Germans, and we have people in Australia. We have people in all over North America, and it's really exciting. With all of that worldwide reach, one of the things I didn't know that I really did learn was how impactful District 5170 is to our club and the things that we do. It is impressive to see, and I loved learning about it, and I loved engaging DG Hung and in her year and how we can do more as a Rotary Club because of our awesome district. The other thing is that I would love to see and flag the people who are coming next into our club who want to have that heart for service and want to understand how our club works. Because if you learn how our clubs works, I would also advocate for you to become part of how we work. And that is something where I'd love to see more of our club members become our next leader. I look forward to encouraging those maybe on the call today, and also those who are listening as well, to join us in that mission of service above self, and that includes potentially helping us run our club as well. And I think for that, that's me in a nutshell, because Mike has much more. But any questions that you want to ask before we hand over to Mike?
Folks, if you don't have questions at the moment, no worries.
Yep, we'll get more later.
Plenty of Q&A time after we do Mike's presentation. But be thinking about those things that you're excited about, those moments that have stood out for you over the course of the year as we think about celebrating what Nick has done and what Mike is bringing. Mike.
Well, thank you very much. It's first of all, I'll start by saying it's an honor to represent the eClub as your new president for the coming Rotary year. And as Nick has said, there are surprises ahead, I'm sure. But one of the statements that I heard first from my pre-election, the PETS training, the president-elect training, was this is going to be a very challenging but rewarding year. And I look forward to that with great anticipation. So I have champagne and celebration in mind, looking ahead. So, first of all, it wouldn't be right to not recognize the wonderful job that Nick has done for us as club president. And he's actually understated that it was a challenging year because we had so much change right on top of when he came on board as president. So navigating through some difficult times to make sure that the club was still charting a forward course, and that our members were getting what they expected from the club. It was certainly a challenge that he more than met, and I think we've had a wonderful year. So I want to celebrate Nick today and thank you for everything that you've done for us this year, and also recognize that we have two current board members whose terms are expiring. Now, Chenko jumped in. Actually, he was a past president, but not the most recent past president. And due to schedule conflicts, he was asked to fill that role and on the board, and he's done that very well. And then Mark has been on the board for I believe, 2 years, and has been a great contributor to the board. And I thank Mark and Checo both for their service on the board. So that leads us to going forward. And as many of you know, that we had a little bit of a challenge getting enough people to say yes. I hope that will be something in the past, because moving forward, the mark of a viable club is through a sustained leadership that comes from people who are motivated and excited about taking leadership roles. I'm excited about being your president this year. As far as next year goes, Rushton has agreed to step into the president-elect role, but there's a caveat. And so the caveat for the club is that if you have thought about becoming our club president, but have been worried that you didn't know enough, or you didn't have enough time or energy or knowledge or whatever, the idea this year is that Rushton will take one or more people who aspire to the role under the wing and allow them to understand better how the role works and how they might be playing a role in the future. And hopefully from that will come someone who will step up at election time to be our next president. Nick, of course, will be my right-hand person in terms of helping me understand the things that I don't know, that he's experienced, and hopefully will be my continued mentor, as he has been throughout this year, in making sure that the leadership role is properly executed. I'm really happy to say that Terry Schenkel is stepping into the role of club secretary, and Nick and I are supporting Terry in the same way that I described for Rushton's role, in the sense that we want to make sure that Terry has all the information and support that she needs to do the club secretary role, which is vital for keeping our records and making sure that, for example, as president, that I stay on task and that I don't miss something important that needs to be taken care of. We're certainly lucky to have Cecilia continue in her final term, or in her term as club treasurer. We couldn't have a more experienced and knowledgeable person in that role, and we are very grateful for the role that she plays. And I'm happy that she will continue to be the treasurer during my year. Sandy, who is on the call, is stepping into a voting board member seat, and is also part of the social committee here in the Bay Area. And Maxie will be stepping into a board role as well. Maxie has been an invaluable member of the membership and the projects or grants committee in the past, and now he will get a vote on the board to help continue guide other people in those roles. So just transitioning a bit into how I see the board and the committees functioning. In order to be a viable Rotary club, we have to do the work of Rotary. And the work of Rotary can't be vested in one or two or a few. It's something that we all share. And committees is a great way for all of our members to volunteer some of their time to be on a committee to help provide the continuity and leadership that's needed to get the jobs done. And the jobs that need to be done are membership. And membership has two parts to it. One is getting new members, and part two is, and I think maybe even more important, is making sure that our members feel that the club is giving them what they expected and what they need. And so member satisfaction is the responsibility of the membership committee as well. And I hope that throughout this year, we'll be able to add some new members, and we have a program in mind to do that through Back to Rotary. But that's not the number one thing. The number one thing for us, I think, is to make sure that our club is viable and that all members feel that their membership is valued and that they're getting the satisfaction from it that called them to service above self in the first place. Another committee that's vitally important to not only to our club, but to Rotary itself is the Rotary Foundation and Polio Plus. The Rotary Foundation is the means by which all Rotarians contribute the money that Rotary does its work. And we ask on an annual basis that every member step up and contribute something to the Rotary Foundation. And there are various options within that to do it, which we'll talk about at another meeting. But I'm happy to say that Phil Dean will continue as the Rotary Foundation chair. This year, we're going to merge grants and projects into a single committee. And we have our district designated funds for global grants and local grants. And then we have our mini grants. And we expect that this year, these will be better reported and better executed than we have in the past. We're committed to stay on task and make sure that the hard-earned cash that we put into our giving is actually put into the hands of people that need it. Another committee that we haven't had much activity with in the past, but I see strengthening, is youth service. And this year, I envision that youth service will be centered primarily in the Bay Area, only because of the activities that go on at the district level that we can help support, like RILA, like the youth enterprise competitions, the speech contests, scholarships, and that sort of thing. And we have Andrea, who's going to head up that committee here in the Bay Area, but also Andrea is going to be reaching out to our remote members and talk about ways that we can engage remotely with youth services in your local communities. Club service and social, we're having some parties in the Bay Area. We hope that you guys will have some parties in your area. And there's an open invitation on a quarterly basis for if we'll try and coordinate. If you've got a Bay Area visit coming, the social committee will try and accommodate a Saturday lunch or an evening so that members that are in proximity can come and say hello. On the 17th, Cal Mann will be in town, and we're going to have a social with him. And then on the 22nd, we're going to have the normal scheduled social lunch at a local restaurant. And we hope that each and every one of you that are in close proximity remotely can do the same. Administration and technology, I guess that's sort of me and Rushton and Nick and and Checo, keeping the wheels turning on the web and on the social media. And finance is a committee that we haven't had in the past, but honestly, I talked about the hard work that Cecilia does. She needs some help. She really needs some helping hands. So anyone in the club that has a financial background or an accounting background that would like to be helping Cecilia with some of the detail work that she needs to do on an ongoing basis, that would be greatly appreciated. And then public image, web, social, webcasts. I hope that everyone's had an opportunity to see the new club newsletter. We're separating the club news from the weekly meeting so that members can have a secure and private place to exchange information and news. And I hope that that's a useful tool for you. So the bottom line here is that we're only going to be successful if we have functioning committees and people on them. So my cry for help is that if you've got only have a little bit of time on a committee is better than no time on a committee. So please find it if you can find the time to be on a committee, we would greatly appreciate it. So you're probably wondering, okay, this new guy's coming in. What's he going to do? Is he going to change everything? You know, oh, here we go again. So I'll start by saying that, you know, change is good. You got to change in order to improve things or to fix things that aren't working right. But it's very important to avoid change just for change's sake. So I think that as Rotarians, we have a valuable tool that many of us may have forgotten about or maybe aren't thinking about, which is the four-way test. And so anytime an issue comes up for us to consider a change or a new policy or a rule or whatever it is, we should subject it to the four-way test. It's there for that purpose, to help us understand whether this is going to truly be beneficial to everyone concerned and that it's an honest broker that's doing it. So I think that what guides me is 3 C's of change. First of all, we all decide that we're going to make a change. That's called consensus. And how do we do that? We do it through communication, collaboration, and commitment. And not that they are all equal in importance for effecting change and for creating an environment that we all thrive in. So from a communication point of view, it's been a little bit of a one-way street. We'd love to hear from you. So the door is always open. It's, you know, please send email or whatever form of communication you feel is necessary. And that will get its due consideration from me and from the board. Collaboration means that one person can't do it all. We have to do it together. So that sort of sits back on the committees again, so that we can delegate tasks and get more done. The only way we can scale is if we delegate and work together in a collaborative manner. And then commitment means that if you're going to do something, if you say you're going to do something, let's do it. So what can we do this year? First of all, we can get our committee structure back in place and have it be functioning in a proper manner. That we increase your participation and engagement with the club by practicing the 3 C's. The Back to Rotary program and the incumbent responsibility of all members to try and find new members still holds true. So to the extent that we can find new members and bring them into our club and have them follow the same values that we're following, to be great Rotarians and to have a great Rotary Club, it'll work, and we'll get those new members. Obviously, the programs and the wonderful work that Rushton and his committee do to bring in interesting and compelling speakers, that is starting to gain a lot of traction in social media now. We want to continue that and expand that to the extent that our energy allows. Here's another one. Find 8,066 ways to do some good in the world. And that number is significant because we talked about the Rotary Foundation and the money that's come back to us this year for investment in our projects is $8,066. And the club has a real say in how that money gets spent. So we'll have more discussion about that as the year goes on. We want to have club-wide support for the Rotary Foundation and Polio Plus. If you can find it in your heart and your wallet to give as little as $25 and as much as you can, it does good in the world and it helps our club. Youth services projects, I mentioned already. We're going to have some fun. We would like to renew the social of Tour Your Town that we did a couple of years ago that everybody loved. So if you would like to show off your town and show us where you live and how you live, we'll put a program together to allow that to happen as a social, so that our club members can see that as well. And then I'll just mention Coffee with a Rotarian. That is not an obligation, it's an opportunity. Coffee with a Rotarian is just another way to connect with your fellow club member and have a social moment and learn something new about a person that you might not already know. And then, as Nick mentioned, the fact that we have our district relationships, it gives us an opportunity to work with local clubs here in the Bay Area, but also each one of you have a district and multiple clubs that you could be working with as well. So again, I encourage all members to reach out and establish those relationships with other Rotarians that may be living in the same area as you. I just want to mention commitment again. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but why do we make these commitments? We make these commitments because we're trying to strengthen our efforts around the world. We're only one person gathered together in a club to do some good. And that only happens when we make a strong commitment. So again, it's important that if your satisfaction from our club comes from what the club is able to accomplish, then we have to make sure that all of our members are participating. In other words, service above self. And I'll just go back to one of the Rotary definitions of that. We don't say it enough, but it's the selfless volunteer service that you do. And it signifies that our main objective in service is in the community, our workplace, and around the world. So, it's an important thing to remember. It's a Rotary principle that we have to abide by. And I'm confident that we all share that belief. And when we share that belief, we will be a strong club. So thank you all for being members. It's appreciated. We probably don't say it enough, but we'll say it as much as we can to say thank you for what you do and for being a part of our club. And let's just have another great Rotary year.
Thank you, Mike. All right. Well, let's shift back to our grid and invite people to jump in with comments and questions. And Lisa, go ahead and start us off.
Congratulations on a fabulous year, President Nick, and now soon to be President Mike. Thank you both for your service. I wanted to mention that as of this taping, we had met, and one of our members came into town, Cal, and several of us had dinner together with them. And for those of you who are listening, if you know you're going to be in the Bay Area, and the Bay Area is huge, so let's put it anywhere from San Jose, Stanford, San Francisco, Oakland, you name it. This area, please let one of us know, because we'd love to take you out. We can have a lunch, dinner, meet and greet, and make you feel welcome in the Bay Area. And it was a lot of fun when we did it last night, and I look forward to doing that more often.
Cool, Lisa. I'll add to that, by the way, that for those of you who are like, but I don't have plans to visit the Bay Area, then if you are going to be traveling, check in with us to find out if someone in our club is where you are going. I got a lot of fun moments that came from that kind of thing this year, including getting to meet Felix in Japan when I was there. That was awesome. Totally cool guy, and another member of the distributed German team that is developing rapidly. That's really cool stuff. For Nick and Mike, what are moments for you that represented fun? Like, so you think about this last year, we have this chance to kind of celebrate this year that finished. What stands out as a fun moment for you? And I invite anybody on the recording to share such a moment as well. So why don't we start with Mike, because he's unmuted, and that means you're an easy target. Go for it, Mike.
Well, fun years have been, for me, the most fun this year has been sort of digging into the job to get a better handle on what has transpired in prior years, and get to know a little bit about the people that have made decisions in the past and pick their brain a bit. That was fun for me. The social that we put together in the Bay Area was a lot of fun. Zoom is great, but there's no substitute for human contact over a margarita. So it was fun to get together, and from that I take away that we should make an effort wherever we are to try and have those social moments, and to the extent that we can make that happen in the club, then we'll try.
Yep. And for me, I will think about it two ways. One is I very much enjoyed making it a commitment. When I thought of signing up for being president, I thought to myself that it was important that I make it down for the district conference, and that happens to also worked well with the Relay for Life and meeting everybody from a social perspective. I also will say that while we don't do enough of them, the opportunity to connect in a setting like this is an online social right here. This kind of recording is an online social, and I really value that we can make the time for these things as well. And that for me is the other area is that I really appreciate it as we get to know each other. I got to meet Rushton in person for the first time, yet I really thought I had. I really thought I had, because I've been interacting with Rushton for so long that it felt completely natural, like I seeing him for the 10th or 200th time. So for me, it was the combination that this is a powerful platform, and I look forward to leveraging it as we go forward.
District conference was really fun. I think a highlight for me, essentially meeting more than 5 or 6 people of the club all together in that conference. We had Rushton presenting on the lunch. He had like a spotlight there. President Nick coming over to the Bay Area. That was great. I think we missed having a club photo. We tried, but I think we have a few with part of the group. And to complete the day, we also had the Relay for Life, which we essentially get a full Rotary day with service, meeting friends, having good food, and enjoying some learnings from talking with Rotarians and the talks during the conference. So I think for me, that was a magnificent day.
And then I was just thinking, before we had a thing where we had more socials, and it might be fun to just, do socials once a month online and just do questions like, where were you born? Just things like that, so we can meet our members, because there's a lot of members that, even I look at the roster, it's like, I don't know. Some of them I've had coffee with Rotarian, but some of them I haven't. So I think that might be fun and get some more people engaged. And then I also think that we should do send out a survey, and if you want, I can write it, but somebody can put it in a good form. But just you're going to get the most out of Rotary if you participate. So as a member of our club, what committee do you want to participate on? And maybe we can get some more interaction that way.
I really enjoyed the district conference this year. I think that was my 4th district conference. I had gone once before. I was actually a Rotarian. I went with my husband, but I really enjoyed this year, just learning more about how Rotary works and having more in-depth conversations with people about Rotary, about hearing other people's history with Rotary, because I have a really short history myself personally. I've only been a member since 2021, but and then I really enjoyed your talk, Rushton, at the lunchtime speech that you did at the district conference, because I had people at my table were eClub. I'm like, oh, I'm in the eClub. I can show you how to do a meeting right now. I always just pull out my phone and I can show them how to do a meeting. So that's what I really enjoy, just learning more about Rotary as a whole, and just feeling more. It made me feel much more engaged.
Mm-hmm.
So a good moment for me this year was working with Maxie and Cecilia on the mini grant stuff, and one of my favorite moments was letting
Yeah.
Shags know that he'd gotten one, because Shags is the guy who's found a calling this year. Shags, can I bother you to talk about that a little bit in the playground?
Yeah, last July, an organization that I was a member of, a for-profit, they were closing down, and they were founded during COVID to connect seniors that were part of the Medicare and supplemental insurance program that they offered, a way to keep in touch, to make new friends and reduce loneliness and isolation. Well, we're just about the time that the Surgeon General came out with this report last May about the epidemic in the US on loneliness and isolation. They pulled the plug because they didn't get capital funding. They were running a $10 million operation. And I jumped in and found a platform that I'd been using as a member and a user called circle.so. And it sort of looks like Facebook, but with special columns, and you can control all the content. And it's very easy to administer. So I set this thing up in 24 hours and let people know. We only had 8 days to capture as many people and get their emails before the platform shut down, and we would lose all those connections. I had about 200 connections, and well, 72 hours later, we had something that was very workable, and we were at about 100 members at the end of the first month. We were going great, and I've got the whole thing going for just under $2,000 a year. And we got our 501c3 and our California nonprofit status, and private funding, and all the contributions that came in covered the first year. And I'm reaching out to others for more long-term funding so we can continue. We're up to 147 members now. People are engaging. We're having a good time every day. I'm late because we were in our trivia game that runs every week from 3:30 to 4:30. And then starting in top of the hour, we have our Tuesday weekly open chat where people come to Zoom and just hang out, talk about what's been going on in their week, and check in with each other. We do that on Sunday as well at 11 in the morning California time. I run a variety hour every Friday. Tomorrow we're going to run an hour of Swedish Chef from the Muppet Show, because we just love laughing together. We really do. Sometimes we'll watch cartoons, Little Rascals and Three Stooges. Other times we'll profile a performer. It's just a lot of fun. We have one member, Fred. He's 85 years old. He's got a collection of movies that numbers in the thousands, because he was an early video transfer guy in Miami. And a lot of people came to him with movies that they wanted transferred to different formats. So he's got the entire Republic Pictures studio collection. We do movies on Thursday nights, 5 o'clock our time, but 8 o'clock their time. Another person, Martha, she's got a great collection of different things that are video series. We're just watching those one after another and learning things. It's a lot of fun. So thank you so much for the mini grant. I learned a lot about how to apply for that. And I had a question on the email right here from Lisa. How do I get my ideas for the weekly Learn Something New? Rushton does the weekly inspiration. I do the Learn Something New and the humor. But every now and then I'll find an inspirational and share with him. And sometimes people will find something interesting and share with me. I just added in July something Cecilia sent me for talking to yourself. I think you'll find that interesting. So it's been a good year.
Awesome,
I've been-
Shags. You
yeah,
you exemplify the thing of taking action when you get the chance, and making a difference somewhere. Before we hand it back to Mike and Nick for the final words, a couple other quick comments. Elton, so cool to work with you on the podcast stuff. You have been a force of nature making that stuff happen. And another shout out to Manu in Germany, who's worked to connect us with a whole group of people who are folks who have a heart for service, but just hadn't found really a home in Rotary, are on their way into joining our club as the satellite group over in Germany, and we're actually being inspired by them to think in terms of ramping up our game even here. So really cool stuff. As we always like to do, though, we hand it back to our speakers for the final word. So Nick, why don't you add your thought, and then Mike, and we will finish this recording up.
I'll say thank you again, and consider and ask Mike, myself, Rushton, how you can help. We welcome, as Mike said, all time, anytime, even if it's minimal time. Thank you so much.
And I absolutely will second that motion. I hope to get to chat with all of you individually during the course of the year. And if I'm too slow, just come after me, because I will always be ready to talk. Thanks.
And in the words of Heather Edwards and her colleagues in the Rotary Club of Eugene Metropolitan, add that fifth piece to the four-way test. Is it fun? If we have fun this year, we're gonna be doing it right. Everyone, we'll see you next week.